All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Friday, January 24th, and this is your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns right here on All in Horns. I'm Tanner Carlson, technology genius. That is Jake Jimerson, who is basically a Neanderthal when it comes to working on computers or anything technology-wise. I basically have to walk him through every step of everything when it comes to those types of things. But we do have a very fun episode for you today, and we are going to talk some preseason rankings for Texas softball, number 1 in the country. Take a look at some of their schedule and their top 25 matchups in conference play, and also Texas basketball beating number 22 Mizzou. We'll talk briefly about that game and what that means for the program moving forward. The way too early ESPN top 25 2025 rankings are out, and Texas is atop that list in college football. And then we'll take a look and give a quick preview on the Texas A&M game. Jacob, this a computer. Do you understand?
That I should sue you for slander and libel right now. I should have recorded our phone call of me having to explain to this man, and I use that word lightly, what an Ethernet cord is.
No, Jake, you're telling the story all wrong.
Where am I wrong?
That I was explaining to you what the Ethernet cord was and did, and if you unplugged it from the modem, if it was going to shut down all the Wi-Fi in your house or not.
There's no words I can say that are YouTube friendly to discuss how I feel about you currently.
We possibly had one of the most frustrating conversations over the phone. At least for Jake. For me, it was humorous.
It was like trying to talk to my mom about technology, but worse, or my wife.
So I was having some technical difficulties with my laptop. I think my laptop's shot. I think I'm just gonna scratch it and go get a new one or whatever. And so originally I had bought this one, just used, refurbished laptop technology store. And it was an old Baylor student's laptop that was used for like 4 years. And now it's falling apart. It's physically falling apart. There are pieces coming off of it. And so it's like, okay, it's time to get a new one. And for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi connection has just gone away. I can't hook. It won't even read Wi-Fi networks on. So I've disabled all sorts of different things in the settings, reinstalled them, all the things, went through the whole gamut, restarted the computer, and yes, I turned it back on and off again. Still didn't work. And so then I had to get Jake on the phone and say, I need help. How do I hardwire this thing to get an Ethernet cable into it? And then at the end of that conversation, I didn't even have an Ethernet port to plug into the laptop. So it was all for naught.
This man also didn't know how. He thought I had to send him another link for our Google Docs because he didn't know how to access Google Docs other than a link from the email. So I had to explain to him very slowly.
I was like, hey, you might just resend me the doc. And he's like, let me show you how you can get access to it. And I figured it out.
You're welcome for teaching you how to find Google Docs and Sheets and all the stuff. It's incredible that you have a job, like a full-time grown-up job. Granted, it's kind of government related, so it makes sense.
Well, yeah,
that you would be able to get one, but yeah,
there's not a lot of work involved. It's so imagine for anybody who's watched Parks and Recreation, imagine that office environment, and that's kind of me. Except I'm not the Ron Swanson of The Office, but I act as though I am the Ron Swanson of The Office.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I worked like a 10-hour day today, and then I got him complaining at me because I hadn't updated the Google Doc because I was still working at 7 p.m. And I have this dude who gets half an inch of snow and gets everything canceled. And
you're talking all of Central Texas right now, buddy boy.
I would love that. It took 14 inches of snow over a coat of ice for us to have one day down.
Dude,
which I still had to work from home.
Did you see the
by
pictures?
way.
Did you see the pictures from the Central Texas area? We literally had, so it looked like little, whenever those old pillows with the beads inside of them that you would bust open and then the little white beads would get all over the place. You know which ones I'm talking about? That's what it looked like in our front yard. It was like one of those pillows exploded in our front yard, and that was the amount of snow that we had.
Yeah, it actually looked like further south got much more snow.
So
like
the
Corpus
coast
Christi
actually
and
got
Houston.
hit hard. Yeah. So off of the coast, it actually got hit hard. Did you see the pictures of the Miami coast, like on the beach? Like they're covered in snow.
Yeah. The LSU stadium was covered in snow. Mobile, Alabama got like 7 inches or something crazy like that.
Yeah. It all came up from the Gulf Coast. Yeah. So, but yeah, we didn't get a lot here, and we got the day off, and I was just like, okay, can the kids at least go to school, and then we just stay home? The adults just stay home and not have work? That would have been much better. But no, we had the kids too, so that happens.
Oh, you poor baby, not having to go to work. Crying in the river. World's smallest violin playing for this.
I'm sorry I asked you for help earlier as a friend. Will never happen again. Don't worry about that, Jake.
Good. Yeah, don't.
All right, Jake. Hey, Texas softball named number 1 in the country over Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's a softball school, mind you. And they are actually listed at number 3 in the country. Florida number 2. So you've got 3 SEC teams rounding out the top 3. You've got UT Junior at number 5 and LSU at number 9, Mizzou at 15, Mississippi State at 25. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 7 SEC schools listed in the top 25 in softball. And it looks to be another great year coming up for Texas. But Jake, Texas ranked ahead of Oklahoma is the big takeaway for me.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. Not how I would put the polls. I think it's crazy not to just automatically put the respect on Oklahoma's name. They've won 4 straight?
Something.
I think four straight national titles,
and they've beaten Texas in one of those.
Yes, and Texas has come close. They've beat them in the regular season. They won the Big 12 regular season title last year.
They won a game. They won a game in the College World Series. They took a game from them. So there was that. Yeah. Having to beat Oklahoma twice in a 3-game series is close to impossible.
Yeah, that was it. When Texas made the national championship that year, I was like, awesome. They're not going to win this, but hey, maybe we could take a game.
Yeah.
Because that OU team had lost 1 game over 2 years,
right?
And they've lost 3 games over 4 years or something crazy like that. They never lose, and they typically annihilate everyone. They were more vulnerable last year, and I know they have lost some talent, but at this point, you just put them number 1 until proven otherwise.
That's to me, that's viable. I think that's legit. I think there's not really an argument against that in your case. But hey, Texas softball, the number 1 team, and then Florida also number 2. I think that'll be interesting. But the SEC is going to be stacked this year, not only in softball but baseball as well.
Yeah, and both. I'm actually pretty excited to really keep up and pay closer. I've always pay attention, but actually try to watch more this year. I've really enjoyed watching more college baseball over the last few years. I've watched a lot of the World Series. I might go up to Omaha this year, especially if Texas were to somehow make it, just because it's not that far of a drive for me. And it just looks like an awesome environment and place to be during that time of year. But I'm excited to dive in, and with Schlossnagle coming to Texas, it's exciting. And to see what this year 1 will look like for him. He's also recruiting extremely well, so the future of the program looks very bright. And so it'll be exciting to see what this year 1 looks like, with what was a much needed coaching change going into SEC play, because like you said, the SEC is an absolute gauntlet. in men's baseball, in softball, and now basketball as well.
Yeah, and we'll get to that very shortly. Here pretty soon, we'll talk about the Texas Mizzou game in detail, and then kind of give a look at what the conference looks like in the basketball circuit. But real quickly, Jake, in softball, do you think that there's going to be a newcomer that wins the SEC, whether that be Texas or Oklahoma?
I mean, I'm going to go with yes, because you're betting on two of the top 3 teams in the country, one of them to win their conference, essentially. Granted, the team sandwiched in between is also in that same conference, but I think Texas or OU has a very good chance to win. But it's all about staying healthy and consistency. And like OU lost the Big 12 last year because they had a skid where they lost to some teams that they shouldn't have lost to. And so it's about avoiding a skid like that. And so that'll be the key, is consistency. And it's kind of hard to predict because it's such a long season. There's so many games, and that consistency factor is such a key. But I think it's a fair bet, that there's a very high chance that either Texas or OU will win the SEC, whether that be the regular season or the postseason tournament. At least win one of them, I would say.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that as well. But I was thinking as well, the Big 12 is going to be almost obsolete in softball without Texas and OU in there. I'm sure they'll have a couple good teams, but it's always interesting to see what the conference looks like whenever you lose the major players. Obviously, the Pac-12 completely dismantled by the Big Ten, but what's left of the Big 12 is interesting to me, because obviously that conference gained a lot of revenue from Oklahoma and Texas's success from softball, and so again, this is all a trickle-down effect. Whenever you what's up?
You do have Oklahoma State, who's number 4, and Texas Tech, who's number 10, to be fair.
Okay. So, I mean, but yeah, I mean, with that being said, though, you see the numbers of what the college football playoffs and the revenue that's brought in after each playoff win from one of these programs that they bring to their conference. Obviously, Notre Dame and Independent, they ended up getting $20 million just for their school alone, because they don't have to share it, evenly throughout their conference. But Texas brought in, I think it was $14 million to the SEC with the success of their college football playoff run. So, but that goes at all levels of sport. That's not just football. So these conference alignments have a trickle down effect that doesn't just affect football.
Yeah, whole conference already riding the coattails of Texas year 1 in football.
You're not
wrong. Teams
wrong.
better pick it up next year. Texas making this money for them. It's the same thing as the Big 12.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know what else to tell you other than the SEC needs to step up their game, because Texas is definitely pulling their weight. All right, Jake, Texas basketball beat number 22 Mizzou. It was a very ugly game. I think Texas shot 31% from the field and won this game. It was one of the worst performances that we have seen from Trey Johnson, making 1 field goal from the field. The rest were free throws. He did end with 12 points. Kaluma had a double-double. Didn't shoot great from the field, but 14 points, 12 rebounds. And again, ugly game, but a win is a win. And it was against a ranked opponent at home. So, I mean, you kind of have to take them when you can get them.
Yeah, it's a season saver as of right now. It doesn't make the season. It doesn't mean they're in the tournament, but you feel like if they lose this game, your hopes of the tournament are basically out the door, because you're looking at really needing to get to about 8 conference wins. You'd be sitting at 1-5 in conference play. 2-4 is not great, but it is a lot better. And now it's, can they string together some wins? You're going to have to string together wins against good opponents. And right now it's the perfect chance to, because you get a home game against A&M. Hopefully Moody Center is a little more live for this game. I will say, regardless of the team struggling this year, it was a library at the Moody Center against Missouri until the final 3 minutes. The environment was pathetic.
Yeah.
And that's pretty disappointing, because the Moody Center's been rocking the last couple of years. And I know the team has been frustrating this year, but it's not a huge arena. The student section's in a great position. It should be a good basketball environment. Your team doesn't have to be the top 15 team every year to have at least a good basketball environment.
Yeah.
It felt like Frank Irwin Center. In a game where it was neck and neck the whole way against a top 25 team.
Yeah, and it should never feel that way, especially if you have an opportunity to upset a ranked opponent in conference play. I mean, that's just end of story. So here's in terms of fan engagement and environment, when it comes to college athletics, I always feel as though that is kind of an outlier of if your team is good or bad, you should go out and support the university. You should go out and support the players that are playing for your favorite team. Now, I understand if the product isn't great, it's much more difficult to root for them and be loud and be prideful of that. But I think in at the professional level, it's more excusable to be like, I'm not spending my hard-earned money on a professional organization that is not going to put a valuable or a product on the court or on the field that I'm proud of. So I'm not going to spend my money and support them that way. I think a university with college athletics, it's a little bit different to where you should go and support your team despite the success on or off the court. Because it is a university and these are college athletes and that sort of thing. It's different to me.
And it's not like students weren't there. They were there, but half the student section was sitting.
Yeah.
See, that's the
problem is if you're going to go to the game and you're going to have a full student section, you might as well be as rowdy and loud as possible.
It's more fun that way.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't the most exciting game for certain stretches of it. There were stretches that were exciting, especially last few minutes where the crowd did finally come alive. But we've seen Moody Center be rocking since it opened up. And, I think Rodney Terry could do more to get fans going as far as not on the court, but just off the court. You saw Chris Beard be heavily involved with the students and getting them involved and vouching for students to come and support the team and be loud and create a great environment. And that's something that Rodney Terry, I think, could do more of. I just haven't seen that like I saw with Chris Beard.
Rodney Terry is not nearly as involved with the university in terms of getting students involved, getting them engaged, getting them aligned with the program itself, and having the program become part of the campus. I thought that's something that Chris Beard did a great job of, was getting more engagement from the students and from the faculty and from the fans away from the actual program itself. And getting people more bought in to Texas basketball. That's something where Rodney Terry has sorely lacked. Also running an offensive scheme, he has sorely lacked that as well. I need to correct myself on some numbers. I apologize. Whenever I introduced this game, Texas won shooting 34% from the field, not 31. Mizzou shot 31 from the field, and Trey Johnson hit 3 shots from the field. He was 1 of 8 from 3-point line. So just wanted to clear that up before we got anybody in the comments saying, yeah, well, semantics at this point, because a 3% of a difference there and from the field shooting 34% instead of 31 is still not a major improvement by any means.
Yeah. The biggest positives from this game were the rebounding from Texas, especially, Kaluma was dominating the boards. They had a good amount of offensive rebound. They had 14 offensive rebounds in this game to Missouri's 8. And then going even in turnovers with the Missouri team, that they are very good at forcing turnovers. 10 turnovers is right kind of at that borderline of you don't really want to be in double digits, but I think 10 against this Missouri team isn't bad. They're a pressure team.
When you broke even with them.
Yeah, and you broke even with them, and Missouri lives off creating turnovers, and that there were some good positives in this game. Again, only 7 assists as a team. That's just poor. But granted, they only made 17 shots. But still, I'd like to see closer to 50% of your shots being assists. I know I've harped on this stat a lot, but it's just, and to be fair, Missouri only had 6 assists. They only had 15 buckets, and not a lot of made shots in this game.
Free throws were an issue for both teams, but Texas did shoot better from the line. They shot 76%. 76% isn't bad.
There's nothing wrong with that. Kaluma 5 of 6, Shedrick 5 of 6, Johnson 5 of 6, Mark 1 of 2. That's your starters. That is fine. All those 2 of 2 for Pryor, 1 of 2 for Onyema, and then Larry was your worst free throw shooter the day of 4 of 6.
Yeah,
I mean that's a good free throw shooting night.
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong about that. But Mizzou 19 of 27 struggled more so from the line than Texas did, and that probably ended up costing them towards the end of the stretch there, where it was a closer game, and then Texas broke it free with the final 3 minutes. But Jake, any other comments on the Texas Mizzou game?
A win's a win. It wasn't pretty. It doesn't give me necessarily more hope for this team. But Saturday is this team's opportunity to show me something.
Yeah.
We're going to do an instant reaction to it. We haven't really been doing that for basketball because, quite frankly, games have been starting late. They have not been fun to watch.
They had a 9 p.m. tip-off the other night, and it was a central. Was that OU?
Yeah, that was OU. We were recording during that. We tried staying up for it, but it was like almost 11:30, and the game wasn't over yet.
God,
and then the Missouri game, I had to get up super early this morning to go out to a client, and so that wasn't happening. And so we are going to do an instant reaction to A&M. It is A&M. It's a big game, and it's a chance. That would be 3 quadrant 1 victories for this team in their last 4 games, with the loss to Florida being the other one. Hopefully Chindo Weaver, I don't know if he's going to be back Saturday. They need him back in a hurry. He is an important kind of spark plug for this team. But this is their opportunity to really make a statement that they have a very good chance to be a tournament team. To me, this A&M is kind of a break point in the season.
Well, and the sophomore Devin Pryor, has been able to somewhat fill in a little bit of that Kendall Weaver absence. Got 7 minutes against Mizzou, 7 minutes against Florida, only got 2 minutes against OU, 3 minutes against Northwestern State. And so he's starting to get a little bit more playing time, and I think you could kind of see that. And maybe there's another piece there. Maybe there's something there that Rodney Terry sees from Pryor that he can maybe get a little bit more ingrained. And there's just another player in this rotation that maybe can catch fire, or at least can set something defensively up for this team. So still trying to figure this team out. And I think Coach Rodney Terry, as we're midway through the season, still trying to figure out this team. And that's not a perfect place to be. But if you can right the ship, now's the time to do it. You win against A&M on Saturday. You go on a little bit of a scoring or a stacking win run within your conference schedule. And who knows, maybe you're looking at pushing for a March Madness spot come tournament time when it's the SEC tournament. Maybe you make a little bit of a run.
Yeah, you beat A&M. You're square in the March Madness conversation. You would probably be on bracketology at that point. They would probably be in at that point. Maybe not a very high seed, but they would probably be predicted to be in. Granted, a lot of basketball left to play, but I just wish there's got to be some more guys that aren't getting playing time that surely could get some type of playing time. That's the bench they're just not running near deep enough, and
they're going.
They have some guys that have been deep. Yeah, they 8 in a lot of games. Yeah. I think even they've had a game or two where there's been like 7 deep, and they have some guys who are like 4 and 5 stars who have been on the roster for either a full year or were brought in this year. I'm curious why a Jamie Vincent can't get playing time for this team, who's is a true freshman. He's also just about 7 foot. Yeah. And he's not small. He's 6'11", 225. So he's not a stick out there. Like, is he really would he be that much of a liability? You can't get 5 minutes of him out there to get a big man out there, especially with a team that lacks big men so much. Where is a Preston Clark at in his development? He's a sophomore this year. At this point, if you're struggling in a game, I would like to see Rodney Terry expand the bench and see if you can get a spark from some of these guys that aren't getting any playing time. it's hard to say because you don't see him practice. So I'm not going to sit there and say I know better than Rodney Terry, but
Yeah.
at some point you got to expand the bench a little bit further because some of these guys have only gotten playing time against like the Pine Bluffs of the world where Texas was up 50.
You also don't know what you have until they're out there playing. I mean, sometimes guys are just gamers, and whenever it comes to getting under the bright lights, their game improves. I wasn't a great practice player whenever I was in athletics. I wasn't a great player in general, but I was a better gamer than I was a practice player. And so sometimes that's you have to give them that opportunity to at least show something. If you're having a shooting performance like you're having against Mizzou, where you're shooting 30% from the field and you're down a couple points, maybe there's a spark plug. Maybe there's a guy who's ready to come in and just gives your team a 4 to 5 minute long spark that can ignite a starter and get them back out there on the court to play a little bit better.
Yeah, or against Florida when you're losing by 10 to 15 the majority of the second half.
Yeah.
Just try at that point. What do you have to lose? You're already losing the game badly.
I was going to say
clearly it's not changing. It's just one of those things that's kind of driven me nuts this year. And Rodney Terry's decisions on lineups that are out in the court has been the biggest complaint about him since his interim year.
Yeah.
That has been a common theme. And so that's something that I'm curious if it'll change. I doubt it'll change just because I think he's kind of shown us what he is in that aspect as a coach. But it's just something that I don't think there's been a lot of discussion around that I at least wanted to bring up and see if anyone else has any thoughts on this as to why we're not seeing anyone else get playing time. Because I did see a little bit of chatter about it against Missouri of like, why are some of these younger guys not getting a chance to come in and make an impact?
No,
even if it's a couple minutes, doesn't happen, take them out.
What's it going to hurt you? You're going to go what on a scoring drought of 4 minutes?
There were plenty of those in this game by both teams.
So anyway, hey, Jake, wanted to bring it up to you just real quickly. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it. The way too early ESPN top 25 list. Texas is ranked in that list, and they are ranked number 1. Or no, sorry, number 2. Ohio State number 1. Texas number 2. Penn State number 3. Notre Dame number 4. Georgia number 5. Oregon number 6. Clemson number 7. LSU number 8. BYU at number 9, and South Carolina at number 10. We can give you the rest of the top 25, but I just want to get your take on the way too early top 10. It's essentially where these teams ended the regular season of 2024. Essentially is kind of a benchmark as to where these rankings come from. But what do you think of that?
Archmania has begun.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that Texas is replacing their whole offensive line, a bunch of wide receiver production, tight end production, literally everything but quarterback and running back. Running back they'll be adding to, I think, for sure. And then on the defensive end, definitely less turnover. You expect them to be a very good defensive team, but normally a team who's replacing as much as Texas is on offense would slip down the rankings, probably still be in the top 10, just because they have a ton of talent that's stepping in to replace. But when Arch Manning is going to be the quarterback, that it is very likely that matchup week 1 is number 1 against number 2.
Yeah. LSU I thought was a little bit strange. I'm not sure what direction that program is headed in.
I am.
Well,
Brian Kelly is trash.
Yeah. Right. Well,
they had a QB who is a rookie in the NFL, took the Commanders to the NFC title game, won a Heisman at LSU, 2 of the best rookie wide receivers in the league, and they went 9-3.
Yeah.
It's not going to get any better in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. Rounding out the top 25 at number 11, Iowa State, Alabama at number 12, Illinois at 13, Arizona State at 14, SMU 15, K-State 16, Indiana 17, Florida 18. I think that they'll be ranked higher come actual season. Tennessee number 19. I also think that they're a little bit low. Louisville 20.
That's very low.
Louisville 20, Michigan number 21. I actually think that they might be higher than 21 come the start of the season. Texas A&M 22. They'll probably finish the season unranked at 8-4. Miami 23, Boise State 24, and Ole Miss 25. If Jackson Dart's returning, I'm not sure why Ole Miss would only be at number 20.
He's not.
Okay,
he's not.
Okay.
But their backup when he came in this season, he looked like a stud.
He looked good. Yeah, he looked good.
Boise State shouldn't be ranked. They lost their offense.
Yeah. Boise State. And again, this is way too early. This is essentially a postseason ranking going into 2025.
We shouldn't even have rankings week 1 at all. So these rankings are extra ridiculous.
Don't get me started on rankings before conference play.
We'll add that to our doc of off-season topics.
That's a Tanner don't jump segment, because rankings anytime before week 4 drive me absolutely nuts. You don't know anything about any of these teams by week 4. But anyway, Jake, let's finish off the show. Texas A&M being hosted by Texas on Saturday, 1:30 tip-off. We will record an instant reaction after that game. Jake and I will watch it live, and we will give you an immediate reaction following the Texas A&M basketball game. Texas 4.5-point favorites. That's bizarre to me. Absolutely nuts to me that Texas would even be favored in any SEC game. SEC 9 ranked teams currently. Texas did just beat one of them, but currently 9 ranked teams out of the top 25.
And A&M beat them by 20 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to pick Texas in this game until they show me the Missouri game was not enough to make me believe. It was enough to make me go, a win is a win and is a good win. It's top 25 win. I'm not going to go, that's a bad win just because it was ugly.
Well, I don't think
it's college basketball.
Yeah.
No, especially a top 25 win. There is such thing as a bad win. If you beat Mississippi Valley State by 2, that's a bad win. But beating a ranked team, a ranked win is always a good win. But this is their chance to kind of turn this season around, in my opinion. This is, to me, going to decide if they win this game. I'll be saying they're more than likely going to be a tournament team. If they lose this game, I will continue with they're going to be one of the last ranked teams in the SEC this season. I have A&M winning this. I do think it'll be closer than the first matchup. I think Texas will show a little bit more effort and pride in rebounding. Hopefully the crowd is not a library, but I have A&M 72-65.
Yeah, I'm hoping some of the shooting gets better. I'm hoping there's some more assists, but even in the broadcast, we've got broadcasters on the national level saying this is just not a team that puts up a lot of assists. There's not a lot of ball movement within the offense. They don't move the ball around, and it's a very isolated offense. And that's what Jake and I have been talking about all season long. And I don't think you beat good basketball teams playing that style of basketball. And relying on either defense or your opponent also playing bad offense to win basketball games. I believe that's what happened against Mizzou. Was you kind of got Mizzou on an off night offensively, where they turned the ball over just as much as you did, and they didn't really run a offense that produced a lot of points. They shot a low percentage from the field, and I'm not sure that is a recipe for success moving on. I've got A&M big 85-58 over Texas in Austin for the clean sweep in the regular season.
A&M just finished off a ridiculous comeback against Ole Miss, by the way.
Oh, wow.
As we were recording, I turned it on because I saw they were down by 7 with like a minute to go, and they just won 63-62.
Wow.
They hit a go-ahead 3 with about 15 seconds left, and then Ole Miss wasn't able to score, and Ole Miss completely choked that game. They were leading the whole second half.
Yeah.
That was, if you saw my face looking shocked, it was because I saw A&M make the 3, then Ole Miss went down, got a terrible shot off, and loose ball, and then time ran out.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's probably all the momentum Texas A&M needs to ride into Austin to put up a game on Saturday. So regardless, one way or the other, Jake and I will be giving you our immediate reaction right here on Saturday. So Saturday's episode will not drop at noon. It'll be closer around 3-4 o'clock-ish range. But until then, like, share, subscribe. Tuesday through Saturday, these episodes drop at noon unless we are giving you an immediate reaction episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Keep spreading the word. We appreciate it. And as always, your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns right here on All in Horns, brought to you by Rogue Sports Network. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. Welcome.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.